Hey guys, Ryan here. So, unless you are living under a rock this weekend, you'll have seen that Power Morphicon 6, the official biannual convention celebrating all things Power Rangers, happened. I was closer than ever to attending this year, but couldn't quite make it happen in time. So I did the next best thing, spent some of Friday, lots of Saturday, and pretty much all of Sunday obsessively watching all the Instagram, Toku Nation, Ranger Board, Reddit, and then the Twitch and Shout Factory live stream footage of panel highlights from throughout the weekend. Even as an outsider, it was a great event to experience, and I'm desperate to talk about it. So here's my highlights from Power Morphicon 6. Let's talk Hasbro. So, as the new owners, it's Hasbro's first Morphicon, and as Jason Bischoff, the newly retitled creative franchise director for Power Rangers, said, they've only been in this situation for the last 45 days. But despite that, what they pulled off was nothing short of incredible. I don't know how much of that prop display was in the works while under Saban, I'm guessing none of it, but it was delivered to a very high spec and was an absolute must-see for fans. Onto the toys. Speaking of must-see, the talk of the town this weekend was Hasbro's new Lightning collection. I had suspected something was coming when they scheduled in their regular power hour for toys, games and collectibles, and they didn't disappoint. Yes, we've been treated to much more than a single product in the past, but this was more realistic, and it exceeded expectations given how much time they've had. More than one audience member referred to bowing down to Hasbro, our new overlords, and that sentiment, I think, summed it up perfectly. Compared to Bandai and Saban, they are a true Titan brand. But if they can produce the goods to a high quality and without us having to bust out the paint and patch kit every time, then they have our respect, and more importantly, our wallets. Did anyone else find it interesting that the first Hasbro Power Rangers toy product is one based on the past? I think that bodes really well for collectors. They could have shown us something from Beast Morphers in that hour, and I would have said before the event that was more than likely. But they really went out of their way from the props display to the Lightning White Ranger to show they understand the sheer expanse of what they've acquired. I like as well that they're starting with White. It sends a great message as he came in as the next Mighty Morphin leader, so that works as a great metaphor for Hasbro taking over from Saban and Bandai. Plus, they'll be releasing him during his own 25th anniversary next year. They could have done green or red again, but white is right for 2019, even though we only had our last one in 2017. These figures will literally be giving us everything we've ever wanted in a Power Rangers figure. The actor's likeness head is the big draw for me, as it gives me another reason to go out and buy yet another set of these Mighty Morphin figures, and that is a new way to display them. And having weapons back after what happened with the Legacy line is a sigh of relief. Then you've got swappable hands and the SFX pieces to put explosions and charges around them, which is almost overkill at this point, but yeah, I'll go for it. I'm excited and intrigued to find out what the other Rangers are going to be in this first wave, hopefully over the next few months. It's been described as an anthology series, so I'm not expecting to get lots of Mighty Morphin up front, but then again, you never know. Apparently we'll have them by spring 2019, right when the new toy license starts, proving that Hasbro, if nothing else, works fast. Meanwhile, in the present order, we're currently in the midst of waiting a frankly ridiculous 2 years from prototype to sale of Bandai's Legacy Dino Thunder yellow figure. Compare that to this, Lightning Collection White Ranger could be with us in less than 8 months from prototype to sale. It also, I would imagine, have killed a lot of interest, mine included, in the helmetless SH figure arts, the ones that were up for sale again after their SDCC 2018 first appearance. There's still supposed to be a helmetless White Ranger due out in November, but I can't see that doing half as well as it would have done now that we know Hasbro's version is right around the corner. I love the idea of these and was delighted that it gave us another shot at those hard to come by figure arts. But I lost a lot of interest when it first became apparent that they wouldn't be completing the whole team this way, and that they contained fewer pieces in the box than the originals, which kind of confirmed we wouldn't be needing additional Power Blaster pieces. I'm excited for Hasbro trying this, and though I've read on Reddit that their plastic isn't going to be as nice as figure arts, which probably will remain the gold standard in Power Ranger figures, just like the Soul of Chogokin line does for Megazords, they're just not for everyone at that price point, and while I like the figures, I don't love them enough to pay that much for them. Elsewhere in Tamashii Nations news, Titanus is joining the Soul of Chogokin club. They had a model out on display, which probably means we'll have it by this time next year. No indicator yet on price, which people will definitely be bracing themselves for. I am pleased we're getting one, as I think it would be strange not to be able to complete Ultra Zord in the same line. But looking at it, and ToyFan posted a great 360-degree video of it, it looks exactly the same as Legacy Titanus to me. The only difference is that Legacy Titanus is not compatible with Soul of Chogokin Megazord. Maybe Tamashii Nations didn't have time to start from scratch, and admitted that Bandai America actually did good with Legacy Titanus. Maybe they bought the design. Does that happen? Anyway, it will be an annoying thing to pick up given how similar it is to something I already own, but to get that full Soul of Chogokin Ultra Zord effect, it's something I've just gotta have. Bandai America did not appear at Power Morphicon, but did fulfill their commitment and sent their care package in the form of the Lord Draken Legacy figure. Oh, I'm sorry, the $50 Lord Draken Legacy figure. This thing actually looks great, and I do want one, but I just can't justify it at the moment, and I expect it won't be long before Hasbro offer up their own lightning interpretation of it. To summarise toys then at this year's Power Morphicon, start saving now for 2019. What's happening with the TV show? Well, Beast Morphers are here, and they look delighted. I think casting have probably done quite a good job vetting the cast this year, so there shouldn't be another dropout like last time. They all look very stoked to be part of this, and I particularly liked Jackie's bond with Nico. Are they friends already? And her sneaking around the con on Sunday in disguise, and hopefully appreciating the sheer scale of it all. As ever, the outgoing cast are a really likeable bunch. It's fun to see them be able to share more than they've previously been allowed to. They gave the traditional on-set anecdotes and got played a blooper reel they'd never seen, which they actually classed as tame compared to what it could have been. Remember, they were filming from September 2016 to about April 2017, so it's well over a year ago now that they stopped being all together every day. A brand new trailer for the 25th anniversary episode aired, and after months of speculation, the full 10 past Ranger lineup was revealed. It's a good one really, I approve of what they've done. My only complaint is that Cat should be Zeo and not Turbo. They briefly mentioned Power Rangers Day on August 28th, but not who came up with it or why it falls on that day in particular, so we'll see what happens with that, and maybe if they can build on it in the years to come. I would have liked them to have assembled some of the returning cast members from the 25th anniversary episode to be part of the panel, but I suppose they were just stretched for time with their 1 hour slot. Then came what's become the biannual tradition of the Power Handover. Now it's a bit awkward, this moment where the current employees have to announce their own replacements, but I think it works, and it does so for several reasons. For one, kids can understand it. One of the big confusions from back in the day when a new series started with brand new characters and no acknowledgement, at least initially, to where the old ones had gone. Then they stopped doing crossovers, and they really were isolated from each other. This method of passing the torch is similar to what the show actually did that first time with the version 1 Turbo cast handing the power over to version 2, and this is kind of like a live, not in character version of that. If kids like Super Ninja Steel, then they're going to like their cast endorsing the next. They're going to go along with that next year. Secondly, it's obviously a good PR opportunity, as in press release, not Power Rangers, as it beats a regular press release and gives a nice photo opportunity. It's always cool to see the cast looking so green beside the experienced outgoing Rangers, and then 2 years later for those newbies to be the veterans passing it on again. Lastly, it's good for the outgoing cast. Their role on Rangers is pretty bizarre. They go from a blitz of attention at Morphicon to being sequestered in another country for 8 intense months of filming the equivalent of 2 TV seasons. They miss Christmas, they have to effectively bond with strangers. As Geordie mentioned, it's long days, sometimes 4 AM to 8 PM, sometimes even 6 days a week. It's intense, it's long, and then just like that, it's over. They drop back into their lives, most of them in Los Angeles, unable to take on another role as technically they're still under the employ of Power Rangers. They just do ADR sessions as and when the episodes get cut, and public appearances like SDCC and the Kids' Choice Awards when they're needed. So they go from one extreme to the other. I think they need this experience at the end, the one that tells them, good job guys, you're done now. Then they graduate, and then they turn into legendary Rangers. Now they have their free will back, and they can be as involved in the fandom as they like. I think the handing over of power is always a great moment at Morphicon, although let's be real, we're never topping the Sudarso brothers moment from 2016. What's happening in the comics? Well, Boom Studios really stole the show for me with their Shattered Grid live panel read. This was so well done. It really made me want an animated movie of it with all the original actors reprising their roles. To hear new material coming from the voices of Rita, Zordon, Goldar and Zack after nearly 20 years was stunning. Jason David Frank had been announced to play Tommy and Lord Draken, but he couldn't make it because his signing was just crazy. That was a bit of a shame, but Jason Faunt stepped in and did a really good job playing Tommy and Draken. Erin was fantastic and didn't miss a beat. Kiara fluffed her lines a bit as she was playing two roles she probably wasn't familiar with, Trini and Samurai Lauren. Peter, I think, lacked the gravelly power of Jason's voice. The Pink Ranger from Hyperforce, Megan Camarina, did a decent job filling in for AJJ, may she one day appear at Morphicon, although I really would have liked to have had Amy Jo and Erin in their scenes together. All in all, this was for most the highlight of Power Morphicon, and I think I know why. Because it took the actors beyond the usual panel format, where they just answer questions and share memories, and it let them inhabit the characters they're known for again in a brand new context. Just listen to the cheers that David Fielding got when he read his monologue as Zordon.
Defend your worlds. Protect yourselves and your morphers at all costs. And may the power protect you all.
What's been great about the comics is giving new relevance to old Rangers again, and seeing it come to life in this way was just the perfect fusion of the mediums of comics and a live event come together. The next day, Boom delivered a panel talking about the future of the comic series, and while it mostly served as a confirmation that things will still be going strong with the new writing team, we've also got the Logan-esque Soul of the Dragon coming from Kyle Higgins, the same writer who brought us Shattered Grid, just in time for us all to pick it up as a Christmas present to ourselves. A long-standing fan hope was made comic book canon as Heckle was announced as the Dark, or Talon as we thought of him, Ranger, in the continuation of the comics after Shattered Grid, Beyond the Grid. What's cool about that was that someone grabbed him from outside on the floor and brought him in for his reaction, which was totally oblivious but positive about it. I wonder if in 2 years we might have a Beyond the Grid panel read. It could be something to hope for. The other thing they teased was the Solar Ranger, but they didn't go into an identity behind it. The best theory I've heard so far is it might be Astronomer after she leaves the Lost Galaxy team, which primes them for an Andros and Corone reunion, as Andros is also on the Beyond the Grid team. It's also the first time we've had an original Power Ranger not tied to an existing motif or season. Solar is, as far as we know, a totally independent power and design. But does she have 5 more teammates out there? Could it potentially lead to a origin story behind a Q-Ranger adaptation down the road? I guess we'll wait and see. Something that wasn't mentioned is whether the new Beyond the Grid team have Zords or Megazords, but given what Boom have been doing lately, I think it's fair to say they probably will. Let's talk Legacy Rangers, because the sheer amount of past Rangers appearing at the con was impressive. They're drawing more and more actors to the event every time now. JDF gets the gold for staying 3 hours after the floor closed in his regular last fan standing commitment. It's little things like that that have really built him into the legend he's known as, although a second day appearance surely wouldn't have gone amiss. Others who notably only did part of the con were Rhett Fisher, who could only do the Friday due to other work commitments, but good on him for showing up despite that, and Erin Cahill, whose flying visit really made the most impact. Between her reunion panel with her Time Force castmates and a full cast photo session, the Shattered Grid live read she reprised her role for, and returning for an hour on Sunday morning before the floor even opened just so her fans who had missed an autograph could have another shot, Erin is a total burst of energy and should be commended for what she was able to achieve on her tight schedule. Well, I've still got some catching up to do on panels. I'm really hoping people have uploaded the Time Force, Zeo and Mighty Morphin panels. I definitely want to watch those. And JDF's I've seen is up there, mostly about the Street Fighter collaboration, I think. So I'm going to go find those, and I think they'll be quite entertaining as usual. If you guys haven't watched any of the 4 panels referenced here, they're worth a watch, especially Shattered Grid Live. And Shout Factory have uploaded it. What I thought was quite cool is that all the panels Shout Factory broadcast were alluding to big changes coming in the future. And finishing up thinking about the future, that's Power Morphicon over for another 2 years. Or is it? Nope, looks like they're starting an offshoot, Power Morphicon Express, spearheaded by JDF and taking place in Texas in just 8 months' time. I don't know how I feel about this. On the one hand, it's good for people living in other cities, maybe even other countries, because Power Morphicon has been very LA-centric up until now, because it's where the majority of the cast members live. You've got all those legacy MMPR locations to visit. On the other hand, is this going to be that worth going to if it's a smaller event? They've really got to give you some reasons to go to it, which makes me think maybe the Beast Morphers cast will actually be announcing the next cast next year, because with their current 3-year deal with Nickelodeon, it looks like Beast Morphers might only be getting 1 season. I've heard a line, and I have no idea if it's true, that Beast Morphers is set to include the most US original footage in years, and them only having to film 20 something episodes over the same time frame that they normally film 40, and really goes with that. Also, next April, Hasbro will finally be operating as the master toy licensee, so we'll be able to see all of the Beast Morphers toy line and probably a lot more from the Lightning collection. At this rate, I'm sure by then they'll have a lot more to show us. The con ended with Power Morphicon 7 being announced for August 2020. That's really great that it's going to continue into the Hasbro era. There was quite a lot of speculation that this might have been it and it could have been folded into Hasbro's HasCon event, but I think a format like that wouldn't support a warehouse of former actors being present, as well as any unaffiliated merchandise brands. So it makes sense to keep it separate. For the actors, it's a nice message too. I know Hasbro haven't committed yet, but if they do stay involved with the next Power Morphicon, it kind of condones all the former Ranger actors coming back out to appear at these events, whereas if Hasbro was to drop their presence from it, I think that sends the opposite message. The way they got it this year was just perfect, and you could tell by the sheer amount of former cast members who had to take their pictures with the 25-year helmet display that they thought so too. So once again, I was experiencing Power Morphicon from the outside, but we'll see where we are again in 2020. If you have any thoughts on this year's Morphicon, please comment them below. If you can't get your head around my posting frequency, then why not subscribe? And thank you as well to the 888 people who have already, good number. That's it for this very long video. Hope you've enjoyed the highlights from Morphicon. Until next time, see you later.